All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Straight Talk, and we are here live like we always do on Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and on Tuesdays at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So, I'm not really here for a long time. I'm not going to be here for a long time. I think we know in what direction the world is going in. The deeper details of that, I could only guess, and that's what I'm going to be doing tonight. And I really want you to try to put the pieces together. Um, I'm going to give you all of the information, all of the facts, not the feeling, not the emotion, none of that. All just the facts. And Kayate, when you have all of the information, you can determine in what direction this world is going in, and how to navigate that to the best of your ability, and based on your current status, whatever that may be, financially speaking, politically speaking, whatever the case. So tonight we're going to be covering all of that and then some, and then the opportunity to really share with you what I feel is going to happen. Now, whether it happens or not, I cannot tell you, but I do have a very strong inclination that it's 95% accurate. One of the things that is 100% accurate, that the death of Trump might be this year, because the IRGC just killed Netanyahu, damn near his whole cabinet, and the ones that are still alive, they are on that ass. They know exactly where they are, the coordinates, and drop a bomb on them. Trump is not going to be alive for too much longer. I think the world will be rejoicing as they did with Netanyahu and his bitch ass wife, whole ass wife, I'd rather say, because not one of them is worth a damn. And I'm just being honest. I don't bite my tongue. I don't, you know what I mean? I don't fake here, fake there, fake everywhere. I just don't do that. Kayate. Just don't do that. So tonight we're going to look at the evidence. We're going to put the pieces together that fit and make a determination at the end of the program. I'll give you my summation of what is going on and what it means. All right. So first up, I want to deal with America and its tendency to lie. And, you know, we got a con man in the office, the White House, and sitting in the president's office. The con man of con men. How the fuck did he get to be president? I cannot tell you. Except for the people who voted for him were just like him. Lie, scheme, connive. I'll be right back.
Obsolete. That much I'm prepared to say. The aircraft carriers of the United States, one of them is limping on its way back to the United States after a suspicious fire in the laundry room. Although, again, if you believe that, I've got a bridge in London, etc.
So the Abraham Lincoln, this is from U.S. Central Command. The Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group continues to support Operation Epic Fury and project power from the sea. Wow. Okay, that's what it says.
You're really projecting the power.
Look at the power we're projecting. Power.
Oh, you mean power on your own citizens because nobody's fooled anywhere else where we're losing?
So get this. This is from the Islander world. The IRGC has officially announced that the USS Abraham Lincoln on March 12th, nuclear-powered, 100,000 tons, the ship CENTCOM posted selfies with to prove it was untouchable, was struck by Iranian missiles and drones in the Sea of Oman, rendered non-operational, and is now withdrawing toward the United States.
Twice
Hold
before
on.
taking lemonade. They both start with lemon. They both taste familiar.
Whoa! Now the United States is denying this, that it was
Whoa.
hit. Unclear if true. So this is unclear if true if they did hit the ship. At this point, though confirmed by Iranian state broadcaster IRIB by Al Mayadeen and by Iran's own ambassador to Russia. So they're saying that they hit the USS Lincoln. Meanwhile, the IRGC spokesman says Washington's mild brain injuries classification is how they disguise their dead. The same trick they ran after the Soleimani retaliation in January 2020, when concussions eventually became 110 confirmed TBIs. CENTCOM called the Lincoln claim a lie. That's also exactly what they said on March 1st and March 7th and March 13th. 3 denials, 1 ship that's no longer in the region. We'll watch how it develops for more clarification.
It's like 2 girls, 1 cup, 3 denials, 1 ship.
So, the United States is saying that they did not hit the USS Abraham Lincoln, the big aircraft carrier, but they are taking it out. Iran says they hit it. And here is...
what do they call it? Mild brain damage or brain injury is the
Yeah.
fake way they fake that?
fake way, yeah.
So it's like a real Lincoln in a way. He had a brain injury.
Oh! So this guy speak? He's going to speak in English. Oh no, he's not. See, he says last night the U.S. aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln was targeted by the IRGC Navy and has been rendered inoperable, now heading back to its point of origin. An enemy that announces its soldiers' deaths as mild traumatic brain injuries would naturally also dismiss the chaos aboard the Gerald Ford, the fire on. Oh, so he's saying that there was there's another aircraft carrier called the USS Gerald Ford, and he's saying that there was a fire on board it. They would naturally dismiss the chaos aboard the Gerald Ford, the fire on board, and casualties from friendly fires. And now, with the same excuse, labels the destruction of its tanker as a technical malfunction. Your technical malfunction, mild brain injuries, and friendly fire incidents have been piling up. Wherever you are in this region, especially in your residential areas, industrial zones, and underground shelters, you will be buried under fire and rubble. And victory comes only from God the Almighty. So they're standing by that they hit it. They're saying they hit it. Here it is, Defense Security Asia. Satellite images show the USS Carrier Strike Group pull back from Iran after a gunboat incident, signaling major naval posture shift across the Red Sea, Oman battle space. So they definitely are pulling out.
Didn't Colonel McGregor tell us a long time ago we don't have a Navy that's ready to go on any level? Like I remember this a while ago. How much our Navy is not up to whatever the fuck that Trump is doing with them right now?
Well, obviously they're not. I think what we're going to find out later in this story, Kurt, is that the era of naval dominance is over.
Great. Well, now I'm worried about Taiwan, or as I call it, China is real.
Yes. So Sergey Evrin tweets out, from Reuters, the era of aircraft carriers is coming to an end. USS Abraham Lincoln is limping out of the Persian Gulf. Reuters also says with its military ingenuity, Iran has proven that aircraft carriers are no longer impregnable fortresses, but merely large and expensive targets. CNN says a national trauma. How could a $13 billion asset be rendered ineffective within minutes? CNN also says the return of the USS Abraham Lincoln to the United States in this condition is the biggest blow to the reputation of the American military since the Vietnam War.
Really? What about all our other losses since Vietnam?
Right?
We haven't won since then. What is everyone talking about?
The legend is dead, says Sputnik. Abraham Lincoln arrived to threaten, but in returning as a floating pile of scrap.
Oh, no.
AFP, this is from France. Panic in the Pentagon. With the withdrawal of the USS Abraham Lincoln, the balance of power in West Asia has definitely shifted in Iran's favor. Wow.
No, better watch out for nukes from Israel, I would say.
U.S. allies are horrified. Even if America's largest warship cannot protect itself against Iran, no one can rely on American protections anymore.
Hold on.
One last chance. Get full access to TradingView, completely free for 1 full year.
Jimmy, I don't understand if we know about hypersonic missiles, and we had Scott Ritter tell us about them, and all these people tell us about them. How is it that the upper echelons of the military would not know about them and plan for that? I just don't understand that.
I think they got these with drones. I don't even think they use those hypersonic.
Yeah, they didn't break those out. They got those wooden drones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Telegraph says the defeat will go down in history as the moment Western naval dominance collapsed. Wow. I think I speak for the majority of humanity when I say that this is in no way an excuse for you to go nuclear. Here is the U.S. This is our good friend Galloway. Here's what he has to say about it.
Navies are obsolete. That much I'm prepared to say. The aircraft carriers of the United States, one of them is limping on its way back to the United States after a suspicious fire in the laundry room. Although, again, if you believe that, I've got a bridge in London, etc. The Abraham Lincoln has left the theatre.
So I guess the official story from the U.S. is that the reason why the Lincoln is leaving is that there was a fire in their laundry room.
What?
Really?
Those are very big aircraft carriers. You know what I mean? Like one laundry room fire you would put out, and it wouldn't really affect the entire aircraft carrier. They're like a mile, dude.
Yeah. So it sounds like they got hit. It sounds like Iran is telling the truth, and they hit the USS Abraham Lincoln.
The other two aircraft carriers are not within 700 kilometers of the theatre. In fact, no American warship is within 700 kilometers of the theatre of operations, which is distinctly strange if Iran's missiles and launchers and drones are all completely destroyed and demolished, just like their nuclear stockpile was destroyed and demolished in Operation Hammer last year, Trump threatening to sue people who claimed that it hadn't all been destroyed, but they still claim now that they are determined to destroy it. You see where I'm going with this. This is a war based on a pack of lies, and it's going catastrophically badly. And as such, it is bringing about in a truncated, rapidly, massively truncated form the...
Okay. Thank you, George Galloway. So that's it. The Navy's a relic of the past, and this is going to be a catastrophic loss.
I wouldn't even think we would have won this. I still don't get that. How do you lose every time, or you just think we're due for a win? We don't win these.
How could anybody in the military have thought we were going to win this?
Do they not get information? There's something weird where I should not be getting better information than generals.
Yeah.
That can't be.
Did they? I don't know what a win. Again, the Trump administration can't even say what a win looks like. They can't even tell you what the what the end game is for this. They can't tell you anything.
When Iran stops selling fentanyl to our kids.
This is, and so did they not know that the Strait of Hormuz would be completely closed off immediately? Yes, they did. Did they not know that their bases are sitting targets for Iran and that they would destroy them? Of course, they had to know all this.
Yeah, well, all this tells me is get ready for a bunch of false flag ISIS attacks.
ISIS attacks are
because
coming.
This is embarrassing, and what are you going to distract? We had to do this Iran thing to distract from Epstein. So what do you think they're going to do to? It's like the old lady that swallowed a fly, or the spider to catch the fly. I don't know why she swallowed the fly. That's what this is.
This is not looking good for the United States. Not looking good. And you know what? Of course, I don't want the U.S. soldiers or anybody to get hurt or anybody. But I would like to see the United States get the F out of the Middle East. I would like to see that and leave Israel to fend for itself, and it might have to be a good neighbor for once instead of a crazy maniac, genocidal, murderous terrorist organization.
Army of grapists,
which is what Israel is. It's what they are. And I know a lot of people. I know a lot of Jews, a lot of Israelis. They don't cotton to any of this stuff.
You got to be crazy if you're still there. I mean, they're making people stay. Obviously.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Hey, if you like to hear my jokes about this, and I got plenty, come see me in San Antonio, Albuquerque, Houston, Dallas, Salt Lake City, Las Vegas, and then on May 7th, I'll be in Burbank, California. It's going to be a great show. And then we'll be in Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Spokane, and then Tacoma. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. You may have seen the conversations happening online lately. Censorship is back. It's happening everywhere. Platforms are controlling narratives and pushing the stuff they want us to see. We need to fight back. Rumble is the only company that has stood the test of time and deserves our support. On one side, Rumble is challenging the big tech censorship, but now on the other side, they have introduced something that will give us protection from the big banks shutting us off. Banks can cancel our accounts and freeze our cards. That's why they've launched Rumble Wallet, a wallet that no one can cancel and wallet that supporters can use to instantly tip creators like myself without any middleman taking a cut. With Rumble Wallet, you control your money. Not a bank, not a government, not a tech company, not even Rumble can touch it. It's yours, only yours to protect your future and family. You can buy and save digital assets like Bitcoin, Tether, gold, and now the new USAT, Tether's U.S. regulated stablecoin, in one place. Tether Gold is real gold on the blockchain with ownership of physical gold bars. USAT keeps your money steady against inflation. No banks needed. It's not only a wallet to buy and save, but it will also allow you to support your favorite creators by easily tipping them with a click of a button. There will be no fees when you tip my channel or others, and we actually receive the tip instantly, unlike other platforms where we have to wait for payouts. Support my show and other creators by clicking the tip button on my Rumble channel. It's wallet.rumble.com. Download Rumble Wallet today, open an account, and step away from the big banks for good. Wallet.rumble.com or search Rumble Wallet in the app stores.
All right. That was a good one. Wow, there's nobody here today. Huh? Okay. So, we're just going to keep it moving as we do and try to go to the next video. So, by now you should know that America has lost the war. Netanyahu and the gang are dead. Israel is destroyed, and America has been beaten back to its shores with its carrier. I'll be right back.
Black waters 14 nautical miles northwest of the Strait of Hormuz. The false calm that had gripped the Persian Gulf for 72 hours was obliterated by the most sophisticated maritime ambush in IRGC history. The USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, nuclear-powered supercarrier and flagship of Carrier Strike Group 2, was executing a freedom of navigation transit through the constricted throat of the strait, a 21-mile-wide gauntlet flanked by Iranian missile batteries on the north and Omani coastline on the south. The war had entered its third week. Operation Epic Fury had shattered Iran's air defense backbone, sunk 2 of its warships, including the brand-new Iris Dina in a torpedo strike off Sri Lanka, and pummeled command infrastructure around Tehran.
But Iran's new supreme leader had made one thing crystal clear. The Strait of Hormuz belongs to Iran, and tonight the IRGC Navy was going to prove it. On the Eisenhower's Combat Information Center, the SPY-6 air and missile defense radar was painting a clean picture. 1,243 contacts, all categorized, all tracked simultaneously by the Aegis Baseline 10 combat system. To a casual observer, it looked controlled, professional. But what the radar wasn't painting was the reason the next 22 minutes would come within seconds of costing the U.S. Navy its most powerful asset in the region. The trap had been months in the making, buried deep inside the chaos of war. 48 hours earlier, Iranian intelligence had leaked deliberately false information suggesting their North Shore-to-ship missile batteries on Qushm Island had been destroyed in a U.S. strike. The information was seeded into SIGINT channels that NSA analysts were known to monitor. The objective was singular: bait the Eisenhower into the strait under the assumption that its northern flank was clear. Iran never fought this battle alone. Signals intelligence gathered over the prior 96 hours had confirmed what the Pentagon feared most. A team of Russian electronic warfare contractors, operating under diplomatic cover from Bandar Abbas, had provided Iran with the Polyana II MGPS spoofing complex, a system capable of broadcasting false GPS coordinates across a 40-kilometer radius, neutering every American precision-guided weapon that depended on satellite navigation. Russia had not just supplied the technology. Russian technical advisors had been running rehearsals for this exact scenario inside an IRGC naval simulation facility since January. The cooperative relationship between Tehran and Moscow that had bled Ukraine for years had now arrived, uninvited, at the throat of the world's oil supply. At 3:17 hours and 14 seconds, three things happened simultaneously. First, aboard the IRGC general purpose vessel Shahid Bagheri, flagged as a neutral fishery support ship and sitting 6 miles north of the main transit lane, 12 hydraulic container lids blew upward with a pneumatic hiss that scattered seabirds across a half-mile radius. Beneath those lids, 12 Nor anti-ship cruise missiles, the Iranian naval derivative of the Chinese C-802. Us locked and pre-aimed using GPS waypoint data uploaded 8 hours prior. 0 radar emissions, 0 warning. Pure kinetic launch in under 3 seconds. Second, from 4 submersible drone launchers positioned on the seabed at 55 meters depth, planted weeks ago by IRGC combat divers during the pre-war tension period. 48. Shahed 136 maritime variant loitering munitions silently ejected from their tubes and activated their electric motors, ascending toward the surface at 3.2 meters per second. These were not the land attack Shahed the world had watched cross Ukrainian skies. These were waterproofed naval variants equipped with passive infrared seekers and programmed to swarm the target from multiple bearings, a saturation approach designed to overwhelm any CIWS defense envelope. Third, at the same moment, the Polyana II MGPS spoofing attack went live from 3 land-based transmitters on the Iranian coastline, flooding the entire 40-kilometer corridor with ghost satellite signals. Every GPS-guided weapon, every precision navigation system within range suddenly believed it was displaced 2.3 miles from its actual position. The Tomahawk's surgical precision advantage had been neutralized. The SM-6's GPS mid-course update was corrupted. The world's most advanced fleet was now shooting at shadows. At 03:17 hours and 28 seconds, the E-2D Hawkeye airborne early warning aircraft orbiting at 27,000 feet screamed the worst possible words across the Link 16 tactical data network. Vampire, 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 12 inbound, bearing 012, range 12 nautical miles, time of flight 94 seconds, Aegis weapons free, in the CIC of USS Arleigh Burke DDG-51. To the Aegis computer needed 0.8 seconds to calculate intercept solutions. VLS cells 14 through 26 opened simultaneously, ejecting SM-6 Block 1 missiles in ripple fire. The launches lit the night sky in a strobing cascade of white fire. The Eisenhower's Phalanx CYWS mount swiveled to maximum elevation, their M61A1 Vulcan barrel spinning up to 4,500 rounds per minute. 9 of 12 Nor missiles were shredded in brilliant orange fireballs between 8 and 11 nautical miles out, but 3 missiles punched through the intercept window. One had executed a terminal pop-up maneuver, climbing to 1,800 feet before nosediving at near supersonic speed, confusing the Aegis tracking algorithm for 1.1 critical seconds. Leakers. 3 leakers inbound, bearing 012, 6 miles, CIWS engaging. 2 more Nor missiles disintegrated under Phalanx fire. But the third, the pop-up variant, had already dropped below CYWS radar acquisition altitude, screaming in at 14 meters above the wave tops. The GPS spoofing was simultaneously preventing CRAM from achieving a clean fire solution. The system was referencing phantom coordinates, 12 seconds to impact. At the same time, the Shahed maritime drone swarm broke the surface. 48 electric loitering munitions erupted from the Persian Gulf in a wide fan pattern on all bearings, their IR seekers immediately locking on to the Eisenhower's 100,000-ton thermal signature. From the carrier's battle stations, the sight of 48 drones simultaneously rising from the black water was something no wargame simulation had fully prepared them for. Do you believe the Eisenhower could survive what came next? Comment 1 if yes. The carrier strike group was now fighting a 3-dimensional battle simultaneously. A sea-skimming Nor missile 9 seconds from impact on the port bow, 48 swarming drones ascending on all bearings, and a GPS blackout turning precision weapons into expensive guesswork. Vampire Leaker, 800 meters. CIWS, no solution. Hard turn. Hard turn. The Eisenhower's captain executed the decision that no skipper ever wants to make. 4 nuclear reactors driving 4 shaft steam turbines roared to flank speed. 104,000 tons of steel executed a maximum emergency turn to port, presenting the narrowest possible profile to the incoming weapon. 3 Nulka active missile decoys were fired to starboard simultaneously, each broadcasting a radar return hotter and more compelling than the carrier itself. The Nor missile's terminal seeker chose the Nulka. At 380 meters from the Eisenhower's hull, the Iranian missile detonated inside an empty stretch of ocean. The shockwave shook the carrier hard enough to knock unsecured equipment across the ship. No penetration, no flooding. But war had just crossed into a new phase. The drone swarm, however, was still climbing. The Phalanx mounts were firing. Escort destroyers were adding their own cannon fire. The air above the strike group had become a geometry of steel and fire. 31 Shahed drones were destroyed in the first defensive sweep, but 17 broke through. 4 drones struck the Eisenhower's superstructure. None carried warheads heavy enough to critically damage a ship this size, but 3 sailors were killed by blast and shrapnel. And the number 2 arresting gear engine was destroyed. The flight deck remained operational, barely. 4 more drones struck USS Gravely DDG-107, destroying her SPY-6 forward array and igniting a fire in her number 2 VLS magazine that damage control teams would fight for the next 90 minutes. Iran believed the strike group was blinded, crippled, and on the defensive. They were wrong. 300 meters beneath the surface, USS Indiana SSN-789, a Virginia-class nuclear attack submarine, had been running silent in the carrier group's baffles for the past 18 hours. The Shahed drone launch had done exactly what Indiana's commanding officer anticipated. It had given him the precise acoustic fingerprints of every IRGC underwater launcher on the seabed. Indiana's BQ-Q-10 sonar suite had cataloged their exact position since the first launch burst. At 0322 hours, Indiana transmitted a single burst-encrypted targeting package via extremely low-frequency relay to 5th Fleet Command. 19 seabed launcher positions confirmed. The reply came in 4 seconds. Weapons free. Execute. Indiana fired 6 Mark 48 AD cap torpedoes in a rapid sequential spread pattern. Each torpedo ran a bottom profile approach, traveling at 63 knots across the seabed before detonating directly beneath the remaining IRGC drone launcher pods. The concussive shockwaves from 6 simultaneous deep-water detonations registered on seismographs in Muscat and Dubai. The remaining 11 launcher pods and the future of Iran's seabed drone capability in the Strait ceased to exist. At the same time, a different kind of justice was being delivered on the surface. The Shahed Bagheri, the IRGC ghost vessel, was attempting to slip back into the neutral shipping lane. AIS transmitter suddenly switched back on, broadcasting its cover identity as a fishery support vessel. It had already traveled 9 nautical miles from its launch position. Its legal camouflage was back in place, but the EA-18G Growler orbiting at 35,000 feet had recorded every radio emission from the vessel since 22:30 hours the previous night, every encrypted IRGC tactical burst, every missile guidance uplink, every communication with Fleet Command ashore. The vessel's military identity was beyond legal doubt. At 03:25 hours, an FA-18F Super Hornet launched from the Eisenhower's still operational deck, carrying two AGM-158 CLR-ASM long-range anti-ship missiles. The LRASM's AI seeker did not need GPS. It used electro-optical pattern matching against a preloaded library of 4,200 IRGC and Iranian naval vessels, identifying the Shahid Bagheri by hull geometry and thermal signature alone. At 03:27 hours and 52 seconds, both missiles struck amidships within 1.4 seconds of each other. The first penetrated to the machinery space. The second impacted the forward hold where the remaining Nor reload canisters were stored. The resulting secondary explosion was visible from the Keshem Island shoreline, a column of fire reaching 600 feet into the pre-dawn sky. The Strait of Hormuz fell silent, but the silence carried a weight that no mission report could fully capture. 3 sailors were dead, 11 were wounded. USS gravely trailed a thin smoke column from her battle damage. The Eisenhower's flight operations tempo had been reduced by 40%. The strike group was operational, but it had been hurt, and inside the bunkers beneath Tehran, IRGC military planners knew exactly what that meant. More dangerously, the signals intelligence analysis completed over the following 6 hours confirmed what the Pentagon had feared. The Polyana II MGPS spoofing complex had been operated during the engagement window by Russian technical contractors, not Iranian operators. The trap's architecture, the ghost ship, the seabed drones, the GPS blackout, had been co-designed in Moscow. Delivered to Tehran, executed in the Strait of Hormuz, the choke point responsible for 20% of the world's daily oil supply. The U.S. Navy had not just fought Iran tonight, it had fought Russia. The strait technically remained open. The Eisenhower remained the most powerful naval platform in the theater. But the geopolitical mathematics had shifted in the pre-dawn darkness. 2 peer-level adversaries were now coordinating against a single carrier strike group in a confined waterway with no ceasefire in sight. The next 48 hours would determine whether global oil markets survived the week and whether the Russian contractor teams in Bandar Abbas were still there, or had already slipped away with the combat data they needed to build an even deadlier version of this trap. The Persian Gulf has always been the world's most dangerous maritime choke point. Tonight, it became something worse. It became a testing ground for the future of multi-domain warfare, and the results are classified.
I just don't know what to say. I mean, I think we're at an fork in the road where a new formation of superpowers or power is going to take place, and that is going to displace America with Israel at their helm. I'll be right back.
The aircraft carrier United States, one of them is limping on its way back to the United States after a suspicious fire in the laundry room. Although, again, if you believe that, I've got a bridge in London, etc.
So the Abraham Lincoln, this is from U.S. Central Command, the Abraham Lincoln carriers.
So we're just going to move on to this one. Yeah, we did. 100% IDF Chief Eyal Zamir confirmed Kim Jong-un and Motaba strike killed him. I'll be right back.
Before I say anything else on this podcast tonight. Because in 20 years of sitting in this chair, through wars and assassinations and nuclear standoffs and every category of crisis that finds its way into a television newsroom, I have never had to begin a broadcast with those 4 words about a sitting head of government of a nuclear-armed nation. It has been confirmed. Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir, the chief of the Israeli Defense Forces, the highest-ranking military officer in the state of Israel, has issued a statement, not through a spokesperson, not through a junior official reading prepared remarks at a podium. Al Zamir himself, the man who commands the most battle-tested military in the Middle East, the man who has been running Israel's operational response to this entire crisis, the man whose name carries the full institutional weight of the IDF behind every single word he speaks publicly. Al Zamir has issued a statement that does not say Benjamin Netanyahu is alive. I want to be precise with you. I'm going to be precise with you all night because precision is the only thing that matters right now, and I will not trade it for speed or drama or the pull of a story that is moving faster than any story I have ever covered. The statement that General Zamir issued does not contain the words, "The Prime Minister is dead." It does not confirm the declaration made by Kim Jong-un and Mojtaba Khamenei in the video that 200 million people watched last night. It does not use the language of confirmation in any direct, explicit form. What it does, and what our correspondents and analysts and every serious intelligence observer who has read it in the last 31 minutes has immediately identified as the most significant thing about it, what it does is fail to deny it. In a statement issued by the Chief of Staff of the Israeli Defense Forces in response to enemy declarations of the death of his commander-in-chief, there is no denial. There is no, the Prime Minister is alive. There is no, these claims are false. There is no, Benjamin Netanyahu is well and in command of the government of Israel. There is instead, and I am going to read this to you word for word from the official English translation released by the IDF spokesperson, there is instead this. Quote, "The Israel Defense Forces will not allow the psychological operations of our enemies to dictate the tempo or direction of our response. The IDF remains fully operational. Israel's military strength is undiminished. We will communicate further developments through appropriate channels at the appropriate time. At the appropriate time. Not now. Not in response to the most explosive claim ever made about an Israeli prime minister. Not in the 90 minutes since Kim Jong-un's state media began broadcasting celebration footage. Not in response to Mojtaba Khamenei appearing publicly for the first time since the joint video. Appearing publicly, visibly, confidently, in what Iranian state media is calling a celebration of divine justice. Not now, at the appropriate time. Do you understand what the absence of a denial means from the Chief of Staff of the Israeli Defense Forces when the life of his prime minister is in question? Do you understand what appropriate time means when every second of its passage is a second in which the declaration of Netanyahu's death operates as fact in the absence of contradiction? I do. And it is the reason this broadcast is on the air right now. And it is the reason you need to stay with me for every minute of what comes next. Let me take you through everything that has happened in the last 8 hours, because the sequence matters. The sequence is the story. Every step in it led to this moment, and every step out of it, if there is a way out, depends on understanding exactly how we got here. Last night, this broadcast covered the emergence of a 73-second video in which Kim Jong-un and Mojtaba Khamenei appeared together and declared Benjamin Netanyahu dead, following what they described as a joint precision strike on his concealed command bunker. The video had 6 fingers on Kim Jong-un's hand, a technical artifact associated with AI video generation, and the world spent the night in a state of agonized uncertainty about whether the footage was real or fabricated. Intelligence agencies ran verification operations. Digital forensics analysts worked through the night. And Netanyahu, the man whose life or death the entire world was trying to determine, did not appear. He did not appear last night. He did not appear this morning. He has not appeared at any point in the last 14 hours since that video broke across every platform on Earth. And now Al Zamir has spoken. And what he said, or more precisely what he did not say, has shifted this story from uncertainty into something that I do not have a comfortable word for. Here is what has happened in the 8 hours since last night's broadcast ended. At 3:47 a.m. Eastern Time, Israeli military communications underwent a significant change in their operational pattern. Our signals intelligence analysts, and I want to be careful here about what I am characterizing and why, identified a shift in the communications traffic between IDF command nodes that is consistent with what those analysts describe as a succession protocol activation. Succession protocol activation. In plain language, the communications pattern that Israeli military systems produce when command authority is being transferred from one designated commander to the next in the established chain of succession. That pattern does not prove Netanyahu is dead. Command succession protocols can be activated for reasons that do not involve the death of a prime minister. But it is a data point. It is a data point that sat alongside the absence of Netanyahu, alongside the IDF statement that did not deny his death, alongside the celebrations in Tehran and Pyongyang. And it is a data point that our analysts cannot explain away. At 5:22 a.m., the Israeli cabinet convened an emergency session. We know this because 3 separate diplomatic sources with knowledge of the session confirmed it to CNN within the last 2 hours. We know the session was chaired not by Netanyahu, not by the prime minister, not by the man who should be chairing his own cabinet in a national crisis of this magnitude, but by the deputy prime minister. We know the session lasted 4 hours and 11 minutes. We know that at its conclusion, no statement was issued, no press conference was held, no official communication of any kind was released to the Israeli public or to the world. A 4-hour, 11-minute emergency cabinet session, chaired by the deputy prime minister, followed by complete silence. At 7:15 a.m., Kim Jong-un appeared publicly, not in a prepared state media broadcast, in person, at what North Korean state television described as a celebration ceremony for the successful completion of a joint operation in defense of the axis of resistance. Kim Jong-un, the man who has spent this entire crisis in strategic silence punctuated by catastrophic action, Kim Jong-un was on camera, in person, in what appeared to be genuine celebratory energy that our North Korea analysts describe as unlike any public appearance he has made in years. He was not performing for domestic consumption in the way that authoritarian leaders perform. He was celebrating, specifically, personally, in a way that our analysts say is consistent with a man who believes he has just achieved something real. And then at 7:58 a.m., Mojtaba Khamenei appeared. The son of Iran's supreme leader, the operational architect of the Jerusalem network, the man who appeared in the joint video last night alongside Kim Jong-un. He appeared at a gathering of Revolutionary Guard commanders in Tehran, and he said, in Farsi, translated by our correspondents, he said that the resistance has delivered its answer to those who thought they could destroy what God has built. He said the hand that struck Jerusalem has been cut off. He said history will record this week as the week the Zionist project began its final chapter. The hand that struck Jerusalem has been cut off. In the symbolic language of Iranian revolutionary rhetoric, the hand that struck Jerusalem is Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister who ordered Israel's comprehensive attack on Iranian military infrastructure, the man who stood at a podium and declared equal totality, the man who said he would end the network. Mojtaba Khamenei said his hand has been cut off, and Eyal Zamir, asked directly by a journalist outside IDF headquarters 22 minutes ago whether the Prime Minister of Israel is alive, said we will communicate further developments through appropriate channels at the appropriate time. I have been a journalist for a long time. I have covered governments and militaries and intelligence services across multiple continents and multiple decades. And I want to tell you something that my experience has taught me about the language of institutions under maximum pressure. When a government wants to deny something, it denies it clearly, immediately, forcefully, with the full weight of its institutional credibility behind the denial. When a military chief wants to say his commander is alive, he says his commander is alive. 5 words. We can end this story in 5 words. The Prime Minister is alive. 5 words that take less than 3 seconds to say, and that would immediately collapse the celebration in Tehran and the silence in Jerusalem and the emergency sessions in every capital on earth. Eyal Zamir did not say 5 words. He said 47, carefully chosen, precisely constructed, institutionally protective, and completely empty of the one thing the world needs to hear. The Prime Minister is alive. He did not say it. Let me tell you what is happening in the world in response to this moment, because the global reaction to Zamir's statement in the last 30 minutes has been extraordinary. The United States government is in full emergency posture. Our White House correspondent confirms that the president has been in continuous meetings since 4 a.m. Eastern Time. The vice president has been moved to an undisclosed secure location, a protocol that is activated when the continuity of American government requires that the second in line to the presidency be physically separated from the president during a period of maximum threat. the nuclear posture remains elevated, and American diplomatic channels to Israel, which have been burning with traffic throughout this crisis, have gone quiet in the last 90 minutes. Not reduced, not slower, quiet. Our correspondent describes it as the quiet of people who have received information through private channels that has made the public channels temporarily irrelevant. What information? We do not know. We are working to find out. But the specific quality of that American silence, in the context of everything else happening at this hour, is a piece of data that we cannot ignore. Russia has broken its own silence in a way that matters. The Russian Foreign Ministry issued a statement 40 minutes ago calling for calm and urging all parties to avoid actions based on unverified information. That statement, from a government that has been ominously supportive of the anti-Israel axis throughout this crisis, is being read by analysts as something specific. Russia is not celebrating tonight. Russia is concerned. And a concerned Russia urging calm in the context of this story is the behavior of a government that believes something real has happened and is worried about what comes next. China has convened an emergency session of its Politburo Standing Committee. That is the 7 most powerful people in the Chinese government in the same room at the same time on an emergency basis. The last time China convened an emergency Politburo Standing Committee session in response to a foreign crisis was, our analysts are struggling to identify a precedent. This is not normal Chinese crisis management behavior. This is Beijing treating this moment as something that requires its absolute highest level of political attention immediately. And in Israel, in the streets of Tel Aviv and Jerusalem and Haifa, our correspondent is describing something she has never described before in any conflict she has covered in this region. She says the Israeli public, a public that has absorbed more existential threat per capita than perhaps any people on earth in the modern era. She says the Israeli public is not in the quiet she described before. She says it is in something different, something that she is characterizing carefully and professionally as collective suspension. As if an entire nation is holding a breath it is not sure it will be able to release in the way it hoped. I want to address something directly, something that I think is important to say out loud on this broadcast at this moment. There are people watching tonight who want this to be real, who have spent this entire crisis hoping for exactly this outcome, who look at the celebrations in Tehran and the statement from Zamir and the silence from Jerusalem and feel something that they might describe as satisfaction or justice or the turning of a tide. And there are people watching tonight for whom this possibility, the possibility that it is real, is the most devastating thing they have ever had to sit inside. People for whom Benjamin Netanyahu is not just a political figure but a symbol of survival, of defiance, of the idea that a people who were nearly destroyed can build something that cannot be destroyed again. Both of those groups of people deserve the truth tonight, whatever it is. And the truth is what this broadcast is going to pursue with every resource we have for as long as it takes to find it. Let me talk about what happens next. Because regardless of what Netanyahu's actual condition turns out to be, regardless of whether he appears on camera in the next hour healthy and defiant, or whether the news this broadcast may eventually have to deliver is the news that the world is currently afraid it is, regardless of that, what happens next in this crisis has a shape. And that shape needs to be understood. If Netanyahu is alive, if he appears, if the denials come, if the IDF statement was a carefully timed institutional response that will be followed by the Prime Minister himself standing in front of the world and dismantling the claims of his enemies, then this crisis enters a new phase. A phase defined by the question of how Israel responds to the most aggressive psychological warfare operation ever conducted against a sitting head of government. A phase in which the network that tried to weaponize his possible death against him finds out what it means to have made that attempt and failed. And if he is not, if the appropriate time never comes with a living prime minister at the end of it, then we are in territory that has no map. Because the death of a wartime prime minister of a nuclear-armed nation in the middle of an active military conflict, killed by a joint operation of his enemies, is not a scenario that any diplomatic framework, any succession protocol, any international security architecture was designed to contain. It is a scenario that removes the last human variable that has been moderating Israel's response to this crisis and replaces it with a military and political establishment that has every reason, personal, institutional, historical, to respond with a totality that makes Netanyahu's own declared intentions look restrained. An Israel without Netanyahu in this moment is not a less dangerous Israel. It may be the most dangerous Israel that has ever existed. Because grief and fury in a nuclear-armed nation with a military in final preparation posture and enemies celebrating in the streets of Tehran, that combination has never existed before. And nobody, not in Washington, not in Beijing, not in Moscow, not in any of the capitals where serious people are running serious calculations tonight. Nobody knows what it produces. Ayal Zamir said Israel remains fully operational. He said that deliberately. He said it in place of the 5 words that would have ended this story. And fully operational, in this context, at this hour, means something that I think every person watching this broadcast understands without me having to translate it. We are waiting. The world is waiting for 5 words or for the confirmation of their absence, for Netanyahu on camera, or for the silence that makes the celebration permanent, for the appropriate time that Ayal Zamir promised, and whatever it brings. I have our full panel standing by. I have correspondents in Jerusalem, in Tehran, in Washington, in Seoul, in Beijing. I have former intelligence officials who have spent their careers preparing for scenarios that they prayed would never actually arrive. I have military analysts who are right now working through exactly what a post-Netanyahu Israeli military response looks like operationally. Not because they want to, but because it is their job, and this is the moment their job exists for. And I have this. The only thing that matters. The only thing that every person in every capital and every home watching this broadcast right now has in common. We are waiting to find out if Benjamin Netanyahu is alive. And until we know, until the appropriate time arrives with an answer that the world can hold on to, every second of this crisis is a second without an anchor. A second in which the most dangerous actors in the world are making calculations based on a declaration that may or may not be true. A second in which the most powerful military establishment in the Middle East is deciding what fully operational means when the man who commanded it may be gone. This is the most important broadcast of my career. Stay with us. We are not going anywhere. This continues right now.
So here we go. This is from my X account, and I carefully thought out and filtered out what I thought was important. It is without a doubt that the USS Abraham Lincoln is on fire and out of commission. It's not in support mode in the theater of the Middle East or the Strait of Hormuz. It's just not. That is also true of the Ticonderoga. That is also true of the USS Gerald Ford. These aircraft are old, out of shape, and have no importance in the theater of the modern day age of combat. It's nothing. They've been hit, and hit again. Which means that America's power and might is no more. White supremacy, and this is a race war. White supremacy is dead in the water. Here you have, these are the Israeli pilots who have committed terrible acts. They've been exposed for their roles in the death of innocent people in Iraq, Iran, Syria, and Lebanon. It's crucial that we share the information. The world needs to recognize these individuals. And they have, and they know, the IRGC knows where they are. They have them on lock. Their exact location is known. And sooner than later, that bomb, that missile, that Shahed drone is coming for them. Now, I'm pretty sure you probably remember how the Israeli made fun of the attacks on Gaza. I'll just let it play out because it explains itself. keep it smooth, talk to me. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, Tel Aviv. This is the ticket around your energy. رسیدن جا اسم ایرانمون امیدیم پای خاک پای ایمانمون تو میدونن همشون کی همیشه برنده است واسه اینه که کابوسشون ایرانمون ببین ما بچه های حیدر کراریم تاریخ تکرار شده ما میخوایم خیبر رو بداریم میزنیم شخمتون پس درد کنید باستون ندیم نشید واسه ما که از آسمونی رو میره بال سر جفتتون boom, 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 Tel Aviv, this is the ticket around your energy. Boom, 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 Tel Aviv, you might discipline yourself, it's your time to play. Boom, boom, boom. What can I do about that? What can I say about that? Nothing. It should have been a minute longer. But like I always say, evil will always destroy itself in the end, and those who partake in it, it never fails. You cannot do wrong and expect for right to come to you. It just doesn't work that way. And these white wannabe Jews who think they're Jew, they just convert faggots, converted sinners of the Torah, and the disgrace of Tikkun Olam, the healing of the world, the Kurashon del Mundo. They don't believe in that shit. They only believe in power and fucking black pussy. This is what this is. If I want to be just as plain and simple, this is what this shit is. It's a little white boy dick trying to get into some brown pussy. That's what it is. To be matter of fact about this shit. So, with that being stated, we got to be able to really categorize what's going on. 1,000 dead U.S. soldiers? Are Trump and the media lying to the U.S. public? It's more than that. It's like 5,000 or close to it. Casualties 15 days in. George Galloway gives a very accurate description of how Israel is taking a bloody good hiding. But you don't know it. He is getting around censorship by calling friends who are there and reporting that Tel Aviv is a wasteland. He adds that more than 1,000 U.S. troops have been killed. I'll be right back.
Israel is taking a bloody good hiding. But you don't know it. You don't know it for two reasons. First of all, anybody releasing a picture or video of the damage in Tel Aviv is immediately sentenced to 5 years in prison. And secondly, because the mass media, CNN, BBC, Sky News, have accepted Israeli censorship and are therefore not broadcasting the footage that they have taken over a Tel Aviv that now looks like Gaza. How do I know that? Because I've got friends in Tel Aviv. Shankin Street, Tel Aviv. Near Dizengoff Square, Tel Aviv. And they've been walking around, and it's they who tell me from their own mouth that Tel Aviv now looks like Gaza. How could it not? Because the air defenses over Tel Aviv are no longer operational. The Iranians are hitting at will with the most powerful ballistic missiles. 50 ballistic missiles hit Tel Aviv last evening alone. They're also lying to you about the number of American casualties. How can all these CIA bases, all these American embassies, all these foreign bases of the United States, how can they all have been hit and destroyed with only 4 dead Americans? I'm going to take a flyer, and it's this. There are approaching 1,000 dead Americans. They can't be hidden forever.
All right, so listen. Hold on. I don't know what to tell you. But I do know that white folks, especially Trump and the team of Trump and their sons, the kids, they're all fucking liars. Mr. Bonesburg never served a day in the military. It's all about pomp and circumstance. And he the leader of the free world. And it all comes down to this. Not appreciating the root. The root of the world is the black man and woman. Without us, the world cannot be and would not be. It is impossible. We are the filtered down version of the black universe in human form. We are the gods of the earth. We have been blessed beyond measure. And so when you curse the root of the tree, obviously you're cursing yourself and you're going to suffer more. Because if there's no root, how do you get nourishment from the root, the trunk, to the leaf? It just doesn't work. So it's best to pray and to be thankful for what you got. Because everybody on the planet comes from the black man and woman. We're all black. I'll be right back.
All right, racists. Los Angeles was there for thousands of years. They were built by the indigenous people who were black people. They weren't brought over by slaves. They are the original owners of America.
Let's address the most bizarre and telling obsession in racist America. The stupid, predictable, unhealthy fixation on where black Americans come from. You people are utterly consumed by their genealogy. You weird racist-ass people demand to know their origin, as if their existence is a mystery you're entitled to solve. Why? Why are you so invested in a family tree that isn't yours? Why does their lineage keep you up at night? It's simple. Because you have none of your own. And their truth is one that you wish was yours. Look at the choir of confusion singing this obsession. You have white Americans who are indigenous to nowhere, whose only claim to land is a boat and a gun, who have no origin story here except theft. And they are the loudest voices telling the true indigenous people where they belong. The irony is so thick, you could choke on it. You have Native Americans, or Siberians, who are Asians, who crossed over on the same boats headed towards Ellis Island, still trying to convince the world that they sprung from this soil, even though their biology screams otherwise. If you are indigenous to a land, you are in harmony with its elements. The sun is not your enemy. You do not burn under its gaze. You match it. The true indigenous black Americans match the land because they are the land. Nature doesn't give you sun blisters. We only see that happening with one race of people. The black American connection is biological, not a story you tell on a census form. And you have others like Mexicans clinging to a colonial racial identity, or Africans who will claim kinship one minute and then deny their blackness the next minute. All of them projecting a profound confusion about who they are and where they belong as far as the copper-colored Americans. Your racist obsession with the beige boys' roots of the original people is a desperate attempt to uproot them. It's a confession. You are all spiritually and genetically homeless. You have no unbroken line to any soil on this planet. You are perpetual guests, and it terrifies you to look at the people who are so clearly, so undeniably the foundation. Being DIY amateur genealogists on TikTok is not a profession. You want desperately to tie black Americans to a continent across an ocean to make yourselves feel more native by comparison. And it won't work. Your obsession is just the spotlight you can't help but shine on your own lack of origin. While you're busy trying to map their bloodlines, you're just drawing a map to your own rootless, borrowed existence. Stop worrying about where they come from. They are here. But the real question you're too scared to ask yourselves is, where do I go from here? You all got the same message like the whites, Mexicans, Somalis, and anyone else getting deported. You're not from here.
That's a wrap on that one. So now, I found it to be rather incredible. The Queen sing about her subject in a different form. What form? Alien? Like she wearing a human mask? What? The Queen had ruled for longer than any other monarch in British history, becoming a much loved and respected figure across the globe. Her extraordinary reign has seen her travel more widely than any other monarch, undertaking many historic overseas visits, known for her sense of duty and her devotion to a life of service. She has been an important figurehead for the UK and the Commonwealth during times of enormous social change. Earlier this week, the Queen was seen by thousands of people in a form they are not acquainted with. We seek to reassure the public that the Queen is still their Queen and remains the respected and loved figure they have always known. While she may not be human, she is a devoted leader and monarch, and she believes her subjects will grow to accept her and her family for what they are. I pay tribute to the commitment, selfless devotion, and generosity of spirit shown by my millions of human subjects, and I fully expect them to digest this news in a mature and humble fashion. Nothing has changed. Together we shall march on. Now, what the change? What form? What they're talking about? I just don't know. I've always known her to be how she was. I'm a short, little, fat bitch. So now this one is really a good one. And it's coming from China. Now, from what I'm understanding, they're getting the petrodollar, a dollar away from petroleum. If you want to deal with petroleum, you got to pay in yuan, the Chinese currency. So they're dumping the dollar and taking those payments in yuan. China is running the most brilliant heist in history, and nobody is talking about it. Let me show you the evidence. Every single piece of it. Piece one. The missile that shouldn't exist. The U.S. bombed Iran's missile site. Pentagon said the threat was destroyed. Then Iran kept launching missiles. How? Reuters confirmed it. Iran was in talks to buy supersonic anti-ship missiles directly from China. Global Defense Corps reported China secretly sent $5 billion in weapons to Iran. Iran's own foreign minister admitted it. He called China a strategic partner, giving Iran military cooperation. Iran is still shooting because China is still supplying. Piece 2. The B-2 that China could see. The B-2 Spirit is America's most advanced stealth bomber. It's supposed to be invisible. The Chinese company called Zhengan, I don't know, said their AI system, Zhenqi, intercepted 2 radio signals from the B-2 bomber during the March 1st strike on Iran. They detected U.S. military mobilization weeks before the attack. China was watching every U.S. move in real time. Piece 3. The yuan that killed the dollar. Iran just announced something that should terrify every person holding U.S. dollars. Oil tankers can pass through the Strait of Hormuz, but only if they pay in yuan, not dollars. Yuan. The mBridge platform, China cross-border payment system, already processed $55 billion in transactions. 95% of that volume was in digital yuan. Piece 4. The allies who said no, that the U.S. asked NATO to join the war. Every single NATO ally refused. Then Trump asked China to send warships to the Gulf. China said no. Piece 5. The bill nobody can pay. The Pentagon admitted the war cost $15 billion. That's just the part they're counting. China cost $0. China's gained cheap discounted oil, global credibility, yuan adoption, U.S. military distracted from Taiwan. Every dollar the U.S. spends in this war is a dollar that doesn't go toward competing with China. Every week of war makes the dollar weaker. Every week of war makes the yuan stronger. Every week of war pushes more countries into China's orbit. This isn't a war between the U.S. and Iran. This is China war. No, I'm sorry. This is China using Iran as a weapon against America. It is fucking working. And there you have it. Now, a lot of people, this is coming from Brother Nathaniel. IDF are the most perverted soldiers in the world. When they are not raping enemy combatants, they rape each other. While the women search for a man, as most of the men are gay. Now, a lot of people would want to say that Africa is backward, Africa is not modern, Africa never did anything. I digress. Africa was just mad before colonization. Incorrect. In the 19th century, the earth and stone palace of the Asantehene king of the Asante Empire at the capital city of Kumasi covered some 5 acres, 2 hectares. It had many courtyards with verandas and open screens and more than 60 rooms. With steep thatched roof. The exterior walls of the palace were covered with rich embellishment and raised clay patterns that may be related to the Islamic calligraphy. Let me see what else it says. It doesn't really say. So, as we count down here, I just want you to understand the lie that's been told and the lie that's still being told. Okay. Dame mi agua. Ponerla en la dame. Tráeme un vasito. Wait a minute. It's on. Jay, here, toma. Aaron, toma. Ponela para allá. So, we got to be careful, you guys. There's so much information that are out here, and too many books that are pointed in the correct direction, that it behooves me to think that our people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. The knowledge is there. It's whether you want to pick it up and start reading. And one of the most important books I can tell you about in my own life, The White Man's Burden of Lies and Deceit, Book 2, and Book 1. The White Man's Burden of Lies and Deceit that deals with why do white people hate black people so much. 2 books, about 2,000 pages, full of information. And when you read it, you're going to be happy to have read it. You're going to be more filled with knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And you will be able to weather the storm of fool. Okay, so it says Stu Peters. I like this guy. UK National Security Advisor. He regarded Witkoff and Kushner as Israeli assets that dragged a president into a war he wanted to get out of. The UK just publicly declared that the US is occupied by Israel. Now, we know that to be true. The IPAC, the Israel lobby, wearing IDF uniform in the Congress. What the fuck is that? That's treason. You cannot work for one side against the other. It doesn't work that way. Jonathan Powell thought Tehran's surprising offer on its nuclear program could prevent Russia to war. Let's see. sources say. I can't really read that. Power, whatever. Okay. Power attendance at the Geneva talk, as well as a previous set of meetings. Oh, I'm sorry. I gotta get rid of that. Hold on. I gotta get rid of that. Okay. Previous set of meetings earlier in the month in the Swiss city helped in part to explain the UK government's reluctance to back the US attack on Iran, a reluctance that has put the UK-US relationship under unprecedented strain. The UK saw no compelling evidence of an imminent threat of an Iranian missile attack on Europe, or of Iran securing a nuclear weapon. This is the first time it has become clear that Britain was so closely involved in the talks and so had good reason to decide whether diplomatic options had been exhausted and a U.S. attack was necessary. Instead, the UK regarded the attack as an unlawful and premature, since Powell believed the path remained open to a negotiated solution to the long-running issue of how Iran could reassure the U.S. that it was not seeking a nuclear weapon. Accounts differ on whether Kushner left the talk giving the impression Trump would welcome what had been agreed, or that the U.S. negotiators knew it would take something massive to persuade Trump that war was not the best option. One diplomat with knowledge of the talk said, "We regarded Witkoff and Kushner as Israeli assets that dragged the president into a war he wants to get out of." The Guardian's report that Trump was in the room during the talk and was cited in Parliament on Tuesday, and Liz Saville Roberts, an MP of the Welsh Nationalist Plaid Cymru Party, during an update by Britain's Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper. It appeared diplomatic options were still viable, and there was no evidence of an imminent missile threat to Europe or of Iran obtaining a nuclear weapon, Saville Roberts told Cooper. So I just want to know, where in the fuck and why the fuck did Jared Kushner get all his power to convince his father-in-law, who is the president of the United States, Donald J. Trump, to go on ahead and attack when they were in talk with Iran, and they just said, fuck it. We're going to attack him anyway. We'll win in a week or two. That ain't going to happen. It ain't happening, and now we're suffering. $15-20 billion that could have went towards our citizens, our retired, our bridges, highways, and byways, and our overall good health and wealth of America. That should have went toward making America great again. Now it's all fucked up because of greed. Jared Kushner is a bitch-ass boy. Donald Trump's sons are a couple of bitches, Beavis and Butthead, who's making billions of dollars, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, from selling drones to America. They have grown rich under the presidency of Donald J. Trump. That is treason. That is punishable by death. And as far as I'm concerned, they should and must be arrested, tried and convicted, and deal with whatever punishment that comes from that. Now, we already know pretty much how white folks feel about it. that they laugh and scream and cry and whine and moan and bitch and laugh and laugh and laugh again. Doing it wearing blackface mock in African dialect. I'll be right back.
What's your name? 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 My name now.
What's your name, man? What about you? Fine. What's your name? Yeah?
These people will not change, are not going to change. You understand? We civilized these motherfuckers 3 times. Once in Egypt, Greece and Rome, and after 1492. 3 strikes you out, motherfucker. And they got the nerve to dress in blackface and talk about the dialect. Motherfucker, you guys wasn't even speaking until 1,000 years ago. We taught you how to speak. We taught you how to walk. We taught you how to do everything. And this is how you repay. All right. That's cool. No problem. I don't have a problem with that. Just don't cry when your bitch ass starts failing and suffering. Because judgment is here. Because what you sow what you reap, and you reap what you sow. The sins of the father and mother are always visited upon their children. Period. It's over. And so now we're down to the last 3. No, this is the last 2, beyond. And what is going on? U.S. and Israel baffled by Iran's underground Ghost missile launcher. Iran is launching missiles from its underground missile cities without visible launch pads. Virtually impossible to detect beforehand. Game changer. Let's watch it. And there it goes. So we're kind of fucked up, you guys. And when I say fucked up, it's fucked up. We have our boys over there, 2,500 Marines. They're all going to die. If not all, 90% of them. They're going into the region standing up, and they're going to be coming back in their coffin, draped, flagged coffin. I just don't know what to tell you. Old Mr. Bone Spurs and his bitch ass family. That bitch ass motherfucking little bitch called Jared Kushner. They don't give a fuck. 3,200 casualties, staggering equipment losses in first week. So it's the first week, it's damn near 3 weeks now. 5, 3, 6, 3, 6, 9. Damn near 15,000 people have died. Not counting Israelis. I don't know what to tell you. This shit is fucked up is what I can tell you. And so we're gonna go on, and obviously I'm gonna have to, because I'm on punishment with X until the 20th. That'll be 3 more days before I can post again. But Look, it's really simple. What I'm saying and what I'm predicting, a couple of things. America's going to suffer badly and madly an earthquake along the Madrid Fault and San Andreas Fault. That's going to cripple America. Not counting the volcanoes and the eruptions of the volcanoes. 15 nuclear power plants are on the Madrid fault line. Some 3 or 5 are on the San Andreas, and the capability of the volcano's ash is just going to kill tens of millions of people. It's fucked up, and we're going to get fucked up. It's not going to be the end of America. It will be a new beginning because we're going to be getting rid of the white motherfuckers. They don't know what they're doing. They're playing the Wizard of Oz game. You pull back the curtain, you see a little bitch of a boy or girl. They're woefully immature. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know what the fuck they're saying. They're just doing shit. Tens of trillions of dollars have been stolen from these motherfuckers. 20 trillion has gone into building I wouldn't even call it a bunker. It's an underground city. $20 trillion. Not counting the $20 trillion I came up missing when the bomb hit when the plane hit the Pentagon back in 1? Something like that. 2001 or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know. So what I'm seeing, not only the destruction of America with that, but the internal dissension and the external extermination of white America and white people around the globe. There are at least 20 cities, countries that white folk can't come to. They'll be killed, hurt, lamed, maimed, burned, stabbed, raped. And this is the fallout from this bullshit. I'm white and I say so. Ain't never made no sense at all. You gotta pay to play, baby. You just can't be out here doing what you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it, and don't pay for the consequences. It just doesn't work that way. Quítala antes de ella caer de la muerte. So, with the formation of the United States of Africa and the fallout in the Middle East with Iran, I really believe it is a cover for the global South to really get its act together. I really believe that the petro-yuan now would take shape and form a global entity better known as the Islamic NATO, which is more powerful than the one that we already have with white folk run, which is dead in the water already. It's defunct, doesn't have any money. They're going to take it over. The Silk Road that existed back in the 1700s, 1800s, they're going to be in the hands of the global South. The vast majority of the resources are coming from that. The earth minerals are being discovered left and right throughout the global South. And so we're looking at the fall of the hegemony of America, Canada, Europe, and Australia. And we're just going to take it over. It's just time. The world cannot take this sick, mentally twisted motherfucker, reprobated mind, bitch ass motherfucker. White boy, no more. He's nasty, he's dirty, disgusting. They don't have a more bone or thread of any ethics, of any integrity, of any accountability. They just do what they want to do when they want to do it because they know nothing and no one will hold them accountable. And so as we move forward with this war, the longer it takes, the deeper in debt America will be. Now, I've heard a lot of people talk about Q this and Q that. Man, fuck you. Why would Q allow people to die? I don't believe in that bullshit. I don't believe John is alive. I don't believe in the maritime law and land law and all this other bullshit. I know about that. But I just don't believe it. I don't believe that Trump is the Messiah and blah, blah, skipping. Man, fuck you. Too much shit. Too much fucking shit. And to be honest with you, what is really happening is that the world is fading back to black. It has to. The world belongs in the hands of black folks because we understand what balance means. We understand Ma'at. The world must be placed back into balance because the white boy and the white girl have really thrown it out of balance. And so with that, the only thing I can really tell you is get ready. There is no more dollars. There's no more banks. If you have your money in your bank, like I explained on Saturday night, you're going to get fucked. Take your money out of the bank, put it into Fidelity or put it into Rumble Wallet, where, you're going to get saved, I guess. In other places that you can put your money, hell, even under the mattress. But do that and be careful. And for the next 24/7, 365, stay black. I'm out.